Jesus encouraged them to trust and believe in him. Now, I just want to pause for a moment. I want us to go back. I mentioned the tomb of Lazarus where Jesus wept, even though he knew he was about to raise his dead friend back to life. I believe he's calling those two disciples as he's walking down the road to Emmaus. I believe he's calling them to have his point of view. There's more to the story than we often think. But that doesn't mean we haven't lost something. And as Jesus stood at the tomb, knowing full well what he was about to do and how Lazarus was coming back, he still grieved. But he grieved with a different perspective. Everyone else around the tomb, nobody's coming back, no returns, no exits. Dead is dead, buried is gone. And Jesus wept with them, knowing full well that wasn't the end of the story. He called these two disciples to trust him. I want you to understand, I want to remind you again, faith always is more relational than intellectual. It's more about connecting with Jesus in a relationship than it is about knowing all the right doctrines and having all the right words to say in any kind of a theological debate, or having the answers to all the catechism questions you could ever be asked. Faith is always more relational than it is intellectual. It is always about love. It is more about love than it is about law. Now, the intellectual part is important because what you believe about Jesus will affect how you connect with him. But you can believe all the right things and still not connect with him. You can live by the law and always do the right things, but you may not love him. So Jesus engages them in this conversation. He doesn't chastise them for their feelings, but he does challenge them to take a different view, a view that goes beyond this moment of pain to see there's more to this story. It's not over till it's over. So Jesus goes on and patiently clarified the promises that the prophets had made. Jesus told them again, something that he told them over and over and over again, as he taught his disciples through those years of his ministry. He told them that the prophets had said that he was going to suffer, that he was going to die, and that he would rise again. But they didn't get it. Now, verse 28, Luke chapter 24, verses 28 to 32. As they approached the village to which they were going, Jesus continued on. He was going on down the road to the next town. And they urged him strongly. Stay with us, for it is nearly evening. The day is almost over. So he went in to stay with them. When he was at the table with them, he took bread, gave thanks, broke it, and began to give it to them. Then their eyes were opened, and they recognized him, and he disappeared from their sight. And they asked each other, were not our hearts burning within us while he talked with us on the road and opened the scriptures to us? I love that. In our church family, we say it's an official meeting when there's food. They had an official meeting with Jesus. And they finally recognized Jesus when they were eating together. No matter where in the world you may go, and no matter where you are on the timeline of history, humans have always and will always experience eating with each other relationally. It's something about what connects us. It's something about eating. We don't like to eat with strangers. Think about it. If you went to a busy restaurant and they said to you, well, we don't have a table for you, but these people in this booth will let you sit with them. How comfortable would you be sitting with a bunch of people you don't know? It's weird. So we eat with people we know and love, or people that we want to know and maybe want to love. We certainly don't eat with people that are our enemies. So in this simple act of eating together, Jesus breaks the bread, prays for it, breaks the bread, and it starts to hand it to them. In that moment, they go, oh, that's Jesus. Verses 33 to 35 gives the rest of the story. They got up and returned at once to Jerusalem. They found the 11 and those with them. They were assembled together and saying, it is true, the Lord is risen and has appeared to Simon. So they burst into this room wanting to proclaim their story, and everybody's going, Peter saw him. It's true, Jesus is alive. And then the two told what had happened on the way and how Jesus was recognized by them when he broke the bread. All they could do was exclaim, Jesus lives. Jesus lives. Their hope rose to life with him. Now, their questions did not disappear into thin air. The mystery of everything they had experienced remained. They did not know why things happened the way they did or how they happened that way. In fact, even as they gathered with Jesus after over a month of being with him, there were people who were looking at him and not believing their own eyes. Because dead is dead and buried is gone. Except not in Jesus' case. Somehow, some way, Jesus turned dead into alive again. He converted buried into living again. Jesus turned despair into anything's possible kind of hope. So a grieving couple on the road to Emmaus discovered Jesus when everything seemed to have been falling apart in their lives. Two broken hearts. Two heads spinning. And these disciples found Jesus when they could not tell up from down. Maybe it would be more accurate to say Jesus located them when it seemed like to them that it was all over. Jesus went to them. And when they were with Jesus, they found something different. So don't forget this. Because of Jesus' resurrection, you can start over even when you think it's all over. You probably have a broken heart and a spinning head, just like the two disciples did, for all kinds of reasons. I want you to know you can count on Jesus to locate you when it seems like it's all over. He will meet you in the center of your grief and despair. He will not, Jesus will not chastise you for how you feel. He will weep with you, but he will also challenge you to believe the promises of God. He will invite you to develop that mindset, that new mindset that he'll call you to seize the timeless point of view that sees far beyond this present painful moment. Yes, it's painful, and yes, we're going to experience it, but we learn to say, my heart is broken, my head is spinning with questions I cannot answer, but this is not the end of my story. So where's Jesus when it seems like everything has fallen apart? When we can't tell up from down, where is he when it seems like it's all over and there's no hope? Jesus shows up when we least expect it. And like every human being, we often fail to recognize him. But somehow, some way, Jesus will turn what you see as a defeated end into an endless victory. But that will not erase your grief, your anger, your uncertainty, your questions. Experiencing Jesus' presence with you will simply give you a hope-filled perspective. Hope confidently believes that your future is worth making it through another day. When it appears that all is lost and it's all over, hope declares, this is not the end of my story. Hope has a name. My hope has a name, and hope is Jesus. His name is Jesus. As one of Jesus' disciples, I want to encourage you. I think he's calling all of us to shift from grief that is soaked in fear and despair to grief that's tempered with hope. When I was growing up, I grew up in the church, okay? I grew up in the church. When I was growing up,